I'm Kent, a 31-year-old office worker. I have an older brother, Steve, who's 7 years older. Growing up, our parents were always busy, so Steve was the one who took care of me. He adored me as his younger brother and always put me first. But he wasn't just about pampering. He knew when to be strict. As a result, I completely became a big brother's boy. Steve was an exceptional person even in my eyes. He always had top grades and was athletically gifted. He made learning fun and easy for me. You're amazing, big bro.
You're really amazing too, Kent. You learn quickly and have high comprehension skills, so you remember everything in no time.
Driven by my admiration for him, I worked hard every day. That effort led me to my current job. Just for the record, it's not like I had a bad relationship with my parents. I think our relationship's pretty normal. The one who's always supported me, though, was my childhood friend, Ashley.
Your calm nature is your strength.
Really,
Yes, I love that about you.
whenever I was worried or lacked confidence, she noticed and comforted me. Ashley has always been by my side, and she has now become my wife. She's now carrying our precious child, and we're building a happy family together. I think the company I work for has a great atmosphere. Everyone gets along well, helping and communicating with each other. I try to lend a hand whenever I can. I'm really grateful to work here,
Instead of chatting, get back to work.
but there's one exception. The atmosphere turns tense whenever our director, Miss Emily, shows up. She joined our department recently due to a personnel transfer.
I graduated from a prestigious university. You less qualified folks should just follow my orders.
The director, apparently very proud of her own educational background, kept bringing up the topic of academic credentials at every opportunity. Apparently, she's been asking everyone about their educational qualifications. It seems she has concluded that she has the highest level of education among the group. Personally, I value work performance over educational background, so her academic boasting doesn't impress me.
Which university did you attend?
She asked me one day. I didn't care for the conversation and was busy with work. I didn't attend a university in the US, anyway.
What? You're just a high school graduate? That's unbelievable. Nowadays, that's synonymous with incompetence.
When I tried to respond casually and just get on with my work, she presumptuously labeled me as only a high school graduate and started mocking me. But honestly, I didn't mind that much. I believe everyone has their own way of thinking. The director, who prides herself on graduating from a prestigious university, seems to think she is superior and correct, and that she doesn't need to listen to someone with a lower education level. Once she labeled me as a high school graduate, she never listened to anything I said. If all she does is mock me, I just have to ignore her.
Hey, you with a low education, get this job done by tomorrow.
What? Isn't this your task, director? Also, isn't the deadline for this job supposed to be next week?
You're incompetent. Just do as I say.
I was troubled by her assigning me her work and harassing me. Thankfully, my colleagues helped me out, but her presence turned the department's atmosphere sour.
Kent, are you okay? You look tired.
As soon as I got home and sighed, Ashley approached me. She works at the same company as me, but she's currently on maternity leave and unaware of the current situation at the office. I wish she would focus on preparing for the baby, but I ended up venting a little. Actually, I'm being targeted by someone difficult at work, and she's dumping her tasks on me.
That sounds tough. Can you tell me more about it?
Taking comfort in her gentle manner, I ended up telling her almost everything about the new director. Little did I know that this conversation would be passed on to someone else.
Kent, can I have a word?
Sure, go ahead. One day at work, my brother Steve, who works in a different department, approached me. Both my brother and I have moved out of our family home, and since we work in different departments and hold different positions at the same company, we rarely have a chance to talk. However, given that we frequently keep in touch, I was puzzled as to why he chose this particular moment to speak to me.
I heard from Ashley.
I couldn't help but give a wry smile at those words. Ashley has been my childhood friend, and she shares a close relationship with my brother. There's no romantic involvement between them, and I know my brother is already happily married and deeply in love with his wife, so there's no cause for concern. They've made it a point not to meet without me or Steve's wife, and always share their communication with me. He's still showing me those interactions from back then. It's not really necessary, though.
If you need me, I can step in.
It's okay. Talking to Ashley has already made me feel a lot better, and for now, I just want to wait and see how things go.
All right.
I smiled at my brother, who looked concerned, and declined his kind offer. We chatted about other things and then parted ways.
Hey there.
Director,
Why are you an incompetent, friendly with Steve?
suddenly, out of nowhere, the director confronted me. I wonder if she is close to Steve. They must be almost 10 years apart.
You shouldn't be talking so casually to someone like him. Stay away from Steve from now on.
May I ask what is your relationship with him?
We were in the same department before. Well, I plan to make him mine someday.
Hearing those words, I couldn't help but be shocked and wide-eyed. She's actually after my brother.
He's such a handsome and talented man. A perfect match for a high achiever like me.
He is married, you know.
There are rumors, but he doesn't wear a ring, right?
Without revealing he's my brother, I tried to explain that he's a married man, but the director just wouldn't believe it. Indeed, my brother was then separated from my sister-in-law due to certain circumstances and didn't wear a ring. I could understand how the misunderstanding arose, but I wish she would listen to what others are saying. Even when I tried to stop her, she wouldn't listen.
What would a no-good like you know about him? Just stay away from him. You're uneducated and incompetent.
She said that and refused to listen to anything. I knew even if I told her I was his brother, she wouldn't believe me or would just use it to her advantage. After she left, I was at my wit's end. After that, I found myself on the receiving end of glares from the director day after day. Moreover, the harassment intensified, leaving me wondering what to do. Around that time, the previous CEO retired and a new CEO took office. A party for the inauguration was being organized.
I'm attending the party too. I was one of the first to get an invite.
The director was over the moon, bragging about it. But essentially, all employees were invited to the party. Everyone thought this, but no one said anything, not wanting to provoke her.
Jealous the.
"Oh, yes, sure," I replied, to which she smirked. I had a bad feeling about this. For a few days leading up to the party, she was surprisingly quiet. On the day of the party, due to some reasons, I arrived at the venue early. What? No seat for me? After chatting with the new CEO, I asked the hotel staff about my seat. I was surprised to be told there wasn't any. Confused, I voiced my bewilderment, then heard a laughter behind me. As I turned around, I was met with a surprise. "Director,"
What a foolish look on your face.
she laughed, pointing at me. I thought in disbelief.
I had your seat removed.
"How? Why?"
The party organizer is my uncle. I asked him to remove your seat since you're uneducated and incompetent.
I can't believe someone would actually do that. As I stood there and settled, I noticed someone looking at us in surprise. That person's changing expressions helped me regain my composure.
There's no seat for the low-educated, so leave.
In the middle of the luxurious hotel's event space, I sighed deeply at those words. I was tired of being looked down upon for my education all the time. This might be a good chance to set things straight. With that thought, I sent a glance towards the person behind the director. He was wearing an expression of anger. "Well, I guess I'll be leaving then."
What? Really?
To the director's surprise, I easily agreed to leave. Her expression soon turned triumphant.
Then leave quickly.
There was no need for her to tell me. So, I quickly left the hotel as she wanted. Imagining what would happen next, I couldn't stop laughing. I wonder what will become of that clueless director. As I was enjoying my coffee, I received a call from her. Smirking, I answered the phone. From the phone came the director's panicked voice.
Please, come back right now. I had no idea you were.
She was clearly shaken, and I couldn't help but laugh. "You didn't think I was the new CEO's brother and the former CEO's son, did you?" "Yes, the new CEO is actually my brother, Steve. He was the one watching us that time." I had sent him a glance, asking him to keep quiet until the party started. If I hadn't done that, my brother might have yelled at the director right then and there. So, I sent him a look to keep quiet at that moment. "I'm sorry to disappoint you, but yes, I am indeed the son of the former CEO. My father, the former CEO, is a man we both deeply respect. He was diagnosed with an illness one day, and though not hospitalized, he needed regular visits to the doctor. The problem was who would take care of him. Both my brother and I were busy with work, and our mother had recently injured her leg. While we were figuring out what to do, my sister-in-law stepped up to help. She used to be a doctor, so she moved into our parents' house to take care of them. Of course, my brother and I still visit our parents' home regularly, and importantly, my brother frequently travels between our parents' house and his own. He didn't move in with them because he's busy with the transition to becoming the CEO of the company, often returning home late at night, so it's more convenient for him to stay at his home closer to the office. This is why they have been living apart. Additionally, my brother has a metal allergy, which is why he doesn't wear a ring. This is no secret. Most people in positions of authority know about it, so we don't feel the need to announce it publicly. I didn't explicitly tell you because most of the senior staff already knew I was related to the CEO.
No way.
Well, you never listened to me in the first place. This party was not only to celebrate my brother's official appointment as the new CEO, but also to announce my father's recovery and introduce my sister-in-law as his wife to the entire company. At that event, I was supposed to be introduced as the brother and the future right-hand man of the new CEO. However, due to the director's actions against me, the plan was disrupted, and it apparently turned into an occasion to condemn her actions. While on the phone with her, I checked my messages and saw one from my brother asking me to come back. I stood up, leaving the coffee shop where I had been waiting. I hadn't gone far, just to a nearby shop for coffee. Because of that, I was able to return to the venue quickly. Sorry to keep you waiting. As I entered, all eyes were on me. I walked towards my brother and the others, with everyone watching.
You look tired, Kent.
There, I found my brother smiling eerily and the director, who looked like she was about to cry. When the director saw me, she hastily apologized.
I am so sorry.
No need to apologize. I have no intention of forgiving you. I replied without looking at her, smiling at my brother and the others. Sorry to trouble you.
Don't worry about it.
My brother, you would easily forgive me if I apologized. Then pointed at the director. It seemed like he was giving me the chance to retaliate before he took his own action against her. I nodded with a smile and turned to the director. It's not because you were disrespectful to a relative of the CEO that I won't forgive you. It's what you did to me personally.
I'm so sorry.
You're apologizing only because I'm related to the CEO, right? If I were the uneducated and incompetent person you claim me to be, you wouldn't be apologizing, would you? Saying this, the director turned pale. Oh yeah, I need to clear that up. I'm not just a high school graduate, you know.
What?
I did go to high school in the US, but for college, I studied abroad.
Abroad? I never heard that.
Well, I did say I didn't attend university in America, didn't I? The director's eyes widened in surprise. I'm not as accomplished as my brother, but I'm still quite capable. That's why I went abroad right after high school. Well, I don't brag about my education like someone I know.
How can this be? An uneducated and incompetent person.
If I'm uneducated and incompetent, then I wonder how exceptional the director must be. I asked her, and she fell silent. My brother stepped forward, signaling that he would deal with the situation seriously. Her shoulders slumped in defeat.
Kent, are you going to stay for the party?
No, I'm heading home. I want to get back to my wife, Originally, I was just supposed to be introduced and leave early. I had planned to leave early especially because my pregnant wife, Ashley, was waiting for me at home. Understanding this, my brother chuckled and let me leave of my own accord.
Pa, welcome back. You could have stayed longer at the party, you know.
The party's not as important as you are, Ashley. I came home to my beloved wife, smiling genuinely. My special feelings for Ashley began in high school. Back then, I was struggling a lot. Despite my respect for them now, I felt a terrible inferiority complex towards my accomplished family. My brother has always been outstanding since our school days, and my parents were both successful, with my mother formerly working as my father's secretary. I felt crushed under the pressure of being in such an elite family. I'm worthless.
That's not true. You're amazing too.
I can't match my brother's grades or his sports accolades.
You and your brother are different, and you have qualities he doesn't have.
I lacked any self-confidence and felt looked down upon, though no one had said anything. My brother and parents tried to spend time with me despite their busy schedules, but I couldn't appreciate it during my teenage years. Ashley was the one who comforted and supported me through it all. She always had kind words for me and gradually became someone special to me. Thanks for everything, Ashley.
It's nothing. I just can't leave you alone.
She would often say that, supporting me through my many moments of doubt. I've always found it hard to get angry. It's exhausting, and I thought it's easier to just let things slide. This led to people underestimating me and causing issues due to my status as the CEO's son.
If anyone messes with you, I'll deal with them.
Ashley would get angry on my behalf and always drove those troublemakers away. She would even get hurt sometimes, but she stayed by my side. I wanted to protect her, to become stronger, both physically and mentally. So, when my father suggested studying abroad, I accepted.
Aren't you going to tell Ashley?
Yeah, and please, brother, don't say anything unnecessary, okay? At that time, I left for overseas without telling Ashley anything. I decided if she found someone else by the time I returned, I would give up on her. Thankfully, after graduating successfully, I was greeted at the airport by both my brother Steve and Ashley.
Welcome back.
After she said that, I confessed my feelings to her. We started dating, and now we're happily married, expecting our child soon. Hey Ashley, thanks for everything.
Why the sudden gratitude?
You talked to my brother about everything, right? That's why I could fight back, so.
Of course, I've always seen you as someone special since we were kids. I couldn't stand anyone hurting you.
Ashley said with a smile. I still have a long way to go. The person I wanted to protect was protecting me.
Just make sure you'll make me and our child happy.
Of course, I will. I firmly promise to build a happy life with Ashley. The next time I went to work, the director was no longer there. My brother informed me about her situation. She had been transferred to our department due to issues she caused elsewhere. The issue was about her stalking behavior towards my brother. It came to light through reports from my brother and others. Normally, this would have led to her dismissal, but unfortunately, Our father fell around that time. In the rush to handle the transition of responsibilities, the situation was overlooked, and during that period, the director's uncle, who was an executive, covered it up. She only got a department transfer as a consequence. I wish you had told me about it.
I didn't want to worry you. You've always been calm and don't attack others, but that makes you worry more.
That's irrelevant now. I've always been considered too gentle and kind by others, but I don't think I'm particularly nice just because I don't get angry. So, the director and her uncle, the executive, are both currently under suspension. It's just a brief respite, really. My brother is very capable and uncompromising. Anyone who has angered him in the past has faced severe consequences. I silently sympathized with the director's future. Eventually, both of them were demoted to a newly established branch on a remote island. They're stationed on a remote island with surveillance, so there's no escaping. Their primary job is essentially sorting emails coming from the main office. Other than that, there's basically no work or entertainment. However, they have to work there as a form of compensation for the trouble they caused us. I wonder how much stress they're under now. With these thoughts, I continued my work. Following this incident, I was appointed as the new director. I had already been handling most of the director's work, so the transition was smooth.
Keep up the good work and climb the ranks. I need you as my right-hand man eventually.
In response to his expectations, I'm continually improving myself. Years later, Ashley and I now have 2 children. My brother doesn't have any kids of his own, but he adores ours. Choose your own path. You don't have to go to college. Studying abroad is also an option, but always be considerate of others. Education isn't everything. Make sure you look at the people you meet closely to know who they truly are. That's how I teach my children. Their future path is uncertain, and they might face struggles like I did, but Ashley and I will always be there to support them.
High school graduates like you are a disgrace to our family. Leave now.
My sister's mill suddenly tried to have me leave at my sister's wedding. I was stunned by her words and stopped moving. My sister is a doctor who is working at the hospital where my mill is employed. However, my sister's marriage and my education level really have nothing to do with each other. Besides, that information is entirely incorrect. I was about to stand up right then and loudly object to her. But at that moment, someone stepped forward in front of my sister's mill. It was the bride, the main character of today's event, my sister.
Wait, you don't know what my brother's job, do you?
Mill probably didn't expect my sister to argue with her. Then, my sister's Phil, who is the director of the hospital, rushed over to Mill stunned. His face flushed with anger and embarrassment. He scolded them while dripping with sweat.
What are you saying? Don't you know? He actually is.
My name is Michael Johnson. I'm 34 years old and working as a freelancer. I am very busy with my work, so I am working not only in Japan, but also overseas when I receive requests to do so. My parents passed away 4 years ago, but I have an older sister, Emily, who is a doctor and a year older than me. My sister, Emily, is my only family. I heard from her just recently. Emily, it's been a while, what's up? Is something wrong?
Well, I'm getting married soon.
What? That's awesome. Congratulations. She was single until she turned 35, and I thought she was never going to get married. It's great news that she found happiness. I'm really happy for her.
I was waiting until you got your girlfriend before I got married, but I don't want to keep him waiting any longer.
What are you talking about? If you waited for me to get my girlfriend, you might never get married. Emily laughed and added in a gentle voice.
Don't say that. Find someone nice and let me know.
Okay, I will, eventually. I learned from my sister's story that she would marry Andrew Johnson, the son of the heir to the hospital where she is working, and that he is a doctor. My sister, who is working as a pediatrician at the hospital, met him as a colleague working at the same hospital, and they have been together for a long time now.
Andrew's sister is the same grade and same high school as you. Do you remember her?
Well, what a coincidence. I wonder if we were in the same class. I was surprised when Emily revealed an unexpected fact.
She said you might remember her. Her name is Luna.
What? Luna? Is she Luna Johnson? I was surprised, and my sister asked curiously,
Is something wrong?
No, nothing. I am looking forward to seeing Luna again. As I hung up the phone, a bitter memory of my high school days came back to my mind. The reason her name surprised me so much is that there's a backstory. Actually, I had a period in high school where I suffered from numbness in my hands and feet. After a while, my condition would improve, but any physical activity or playing instruments in music class would leave me unable to stand. My condition worsened to the point where I couldn't attend school regularly. Most of my friends were concerned, but there were exceptions. The most cruel person among them was Luna. He was in the same class with me. Luna was the center of the class and wanted everything to go her way. She blamed me for breaking the class's perfect attendance record and constantly complained. No matter how much I explained my genuine health issues, she labeled them as fake excuses. My symptoms gradually worsened, making school attendance almost impossible. When I went to school on days I was feeling slightly better, Luna would notice me and say, "Oh, you're not skipping class today, are you? You must have been playing video games at home all day, huh? You'll never get into any college." I didn't hate my high school, but I didn't like seeing Luna. Just the thought of the person I hated so much becoming a relative of mine made me feel uncomfortable. But now, Luna is a mature adult in her mid-30s. I hoped her attitude might have changed. Eventually, my illness progressed, and I had to take a break from school. I started experiencing frequent numbness and paralysis in my limbs. At the hospital, I was diagnosed with a disease called Moyamoya disease. This disease causes blood vessels in the brain to become narrow, resulting in a lack of blood flow to the brain. It's a disease with an unknown cause. It often appears in teenagers and can progress if left untreated, so surgical treatment is sometimes recommended. However, the surgery required connecting external and internal cranial blood vessels, carrying significant risks of complications. As a high school student, I was faced with the decision of whether to opt for internal medical treatment to control my blood pressure or undergo surgical surgery. At first, I intended to have the surgery, but the more I learned about it, I lost the courage to go through with it. There is no definitive cure for Moyamoya disease, so even with medication to lower blood pressure and prevent onset, there's an increased risk of stroke and the burden on Moyamoya vessels trying to compensate for reduced cerebral blood. Therefore, surgery was the usual option, but there was a risk of stroke during anesthesia. It typically takes 1 to 3 months post-surgery for adequate blood flow to resume in the brain, requiring careful monitoring. After listening to the explanation, I was completely terrified of the surgery. That's when my sister introduced me to Dr. Smith, who is known as a genius in brain surgery. Meeting him changed my life. Dr. Smith explained everything thoroughly, showing me successful recovery cases, and I finally decided to proceed. Trusting him, I underwent the surgery. As a result, my surgery was a great success, and I was finally able to return to my healthy condition at the age of 18. Thank you so much, Dr. Smith. When I thanked him, Dr. Smith smiled kindly at me.
Now you can pursue your dreams without this illness holding you back.
Thanks to Dr. Smith's words, I am where I am today. A few days after my sister told me about her wedding, she called me again. She wanted me to attend a pre-wedding family meeting. While I'm happy about my sister's wedding, the thought of having to meet Luna again doesn't thrill me. But for my sister's sake, I've decided to participate in it. I was the only family for my sister, as we had no parents. On the day of the meeting, I headed for a renowned hotel located downtown in New York. Today's attendees from the groom's side are Mil, Andrew, and his sister Luna. The groom's father, a hospital director, couldn't make it due to sudden work. From the bride's side, it's just my sister and me. My sister and I arrived at the hotel early and were nervously waiting for the others to arrive. Sis, have you met his mother and sister before?
Yes, his mom is working at the same hospital as me. That's why we're co-workers and work so hard.
My sister answered with a calm smile.
I've heard that his sister, Luna, is working various part-time jobs. I'm looking forward to meeting her for the first time.
While we were chatting, the groom-to-be, Andrew, walked into the room.
Sorry for keeping you waiting.
It's all right. We just got here too.
Andrew has great posture and a sharp look, so I was relieved to see him as a perfect match for my calm sister. Nice to meet you. I'm Emily's younger brother, Michael. I've been looking forward to meeting you.
I've heard a lot about you from Emily. It's nice to finally meet you.
We quickly found common ground, as I enjoy cycling too, and the conversation picked up from there. I was relieved to get along well. Then the door opened again, and the Mil and Sil Luna entered the room. The Mil is a working doctor, so she moves fast.
So you're Michael. Nice to meet you. I've heard that you were in the same grade as Luna.
I figured whatever Luna told her about me probably wasn't too flattering, so I just let it slide.
Michael, long time no see. How have you been feeling lately?
It's been a while. I'm all better now. Surprisingly, Luna didn't make any snide comments like she used to in high school. She became mature and talked to me in a cheerful mood, and I felt relieved that she seemed all right. The food at the renowned hotel was all delicious, and we had wine and good conversation. My sister and Andrew seemed like a well-matched couple, both calm and composed, having been together for a long time. After the meal, my sister and Andrew left the table because the hotel garden was beautiful and they wanted to see it. As soon as they were gone, Luna's attitude changed dramatically.
You're still just lazing around at home, aren't you, Michael?
No, actually, I've been working. I replied with surprise when Luna suddenly asked me the question in a spiky tone of voice. But Luna didn't seem satisfied and continued to scrutinize me from head to toe.
I wonder. I heard you were absent a lot in high school and barely graduated thanks to some pity. And then, you didn't even go to college, did you?
It seems that a person's character doesn't change much over the years. The bright mood I had earlier vanished completely. I felt I needed to clear the misunderstanding. I didn't go to college right after high school because I was ill. Now I'm healthy and working.
But the work you're doing is probably just like playing around, right? You always had a habit of skipping school and goofing off since high school.
I was totally annoyed with Luna, who was sarcastic towards me. I was hoping my sister's Mill would come to my rescue, but she just looked at me coldly and added insult to injury.
Everyone in my family has a college degree. Emily, who became a doctor, is very welcome, but you may not fit in with our family.
She then sniffed at me in a mocking manner. So, you're saying I'm not suitable to be part of your family?
That's right. Because you didn't go to college, you're just a high school graduate. It's embarrassing to have someone like that in our family.
She simply nodded and looked sharply at me.
And as Luna says, I don't want anything to do with a lazy playboy like you, even after the wedding.
I've never been lazy. I tried to correct her, but the Mill wouldn't listen, and Luna just grinned at my troubled face.
People who slack off always say that. Emily became a respectable doctor, but just hearing that you're a high school graduate tells us all we need to know about you.
Aren't you being harsh in that way? I protested, but she remained unyielding. In fact, she went even further.
That's why you obviously won't be attending the wedding. We can't have a high school graduate in our family.
It seemed the Mill judged people solely based on their education. Everyone has their own circumstances, and a person's worth isn't determined solely by their educational background. But it seems the Mill doesn't understand this, and she labels me as a failure without any discussion. I'd like to object to that, but before I could respond, my sister and Enru returned, and I closed my mouth. I didn't want to cause a scene on my sister's special day.
Michael, what's wrong? You look pale.
True. I wonder if we pushed him too hard at the meetup. Sorry about that.
Their kindness made me not want to worry them further. I changed my mood and replied with a smile. No, not at all. The meal was so good, and I just drank too much wine. I'm really enjoying today. The Mill and Luna were quietly smiling, apparently wanting to hide their true colors in front of my sister and Enru, but the coldness in their eyes when they looked at me remained. The meetup ended somehow, but I couldn't shake off the gloom even after returning home. The thought of having to deal with my sister's disdainful Mill and Luna's family weighed heavily on me. Despite recovering from my illness and pursuing my dreams, it felt like I was burdened with new troubles. Nevertheless, I was committed to supporting my sister's happiness. I'm glad that Enru, who will be my brother-in-law, is a good person at least. I knew Enru's father. He didn't attend the meetup to be gentle and kind. Enru must be like his father. So, not everything about this marriage was negative. Trying to stay positive, I brushed aside my foreboding thoughts. Time flew, and my sister's wedding day came. Despite what the Mill had said, I attended. I determined to not let her or Luna's words bother me on this important day for my sister. I put on my suit. The wedding took place at a grand hotel, chosen through discussion between my sister and her fiancé, Enru. It was a splendid wedding, not only gorgeous to look at, but also full of thoughtfulness for the guests. I was happy as the brother of the bride that so many hospital colleagues were there, and the mood was grand and celebratory. Enru looked dashing in his tuxedo, and my sister was breathtakingly beautiful in her wedding dress. My sister, who usually wears modest clothes, was shining brightly today. Seeing her so happy filled me with joy beyond my own. The ceremony smoothly transitioned into the reception. At first, the reception had a stiff mood, probably due to the large number of hospital staff attending. But soon the entertainment began, and the guests were in a pleasant mood. My sister and Enru, sitting at the main table, smiled warmly at the lively atmosphere. Then laughter from the Mill and Lune. Apparently, they got drunk on alcohol, which they were not used to drinking, and they were in a completely good mood with blushing red faces. It was rare to see a groom's mother getting drunk at the reception. Despite our past issues, I was concerned for her. A few minutes later, my concerns came true. She staggered over to the wedding MC, grabbed the microphone from him, and suddenly started to talk. Luna, her face flushed red from alcohol, came running after her mother, standing next to her mother and grinning.
Thank you all for gathering today for Andrew's wedding. I'm thrilled to have such educated and esteemed guests celebrating with us.
She began confidently despite her intoxication. But soon after, the unexpected words came out.
However, there's someone here who doesn't fit in with the rest of us. It's the bride's brother, Michael. He was a lazy high schooler who frequently skipped classes and didn't even go to college.
The whole room was buzzing, and all eyes turned to me. I turned blushing so red with embarrassment that my face almost caught fire. Looking around at the buzzing room, the Mill exhaled deeply with a satisfied look on her face. Then, pointing at me and laughing loudly, she declared,
High school graduates like you are a disgrace to our family. Leave now.
I felt so embarrassed and out of place by the Mill's sudden demand to leave my sister's wedding. It was incredibly rude to try to exclude me based on my education, especially since the information she had was wrong. I thought about standing up and loudly objecting right there, but I didn't want to ruin my sister's special day. To avoid further commotion, I realized the only option might be for me to leave. As I reluctantly stood to exit, someone stepped forward to confront the Mill. It was the bride, my sister.
Wait a minute, you don't know what my brother's job, do you?
The Mill appeared taken aback, not expecting my sister to interject. Meanwhile, Luna raised her voice in disbelief.
I don't even need to ask. I can tell. You're probably unemployed or a temp worker, right? A notorious slacker and just a high school grad. You're only fit for the lowest of jobs.
While Luna laughed mockingly, my sister's face clouded with dismay. Then another person hurried over. It was my sister's Phil, the hospital director. His face flushed with anger and embarrassment. He scolded them while dripping with sweat.
What are you two saying? Do you realize what you've done?
Overreacting much. You must be embarrassed too, having a high school graduate in the family.
The Mill was giggling and mocking me along with Lune. Hearing that response, the FIL's face turned even redder as he earnestly tried to explain.
No, Michael is a freelance surgeon. He's a skilled neurosurgeon, and hospitals all over the world are calling on him for help.
The mill stares at him with her mouth hanging open with surprise.
He's scheduled to perform a challenging surgery at our hospital soon, on my invitation. If he refuses it now, what will happen to our patients?
But Luna said he was just a high school graduate.
The mill stuttered, while Luna turned pale and looked at me with shock. However, the FIL's revelation was the truth. I didn't go directly to college from high school due to my illness. Thanks to Dr. Smith's surgery, I regained my health without any lingering effects and got my life back on track. Motivated by my own struggles with illness, I aspired to become a doctor to help others in similar situations. After years of dedicated effort, though a few years behind my peers, I managed to get into a prestigious medical school. I studied hard and passed the National Medical Licensing Exam. After obtaining my medical license, I had been under the supervision of Dr. Smith to practice and develop my skills, and now I was recognized as an outstanding neurologist. At the hospital where my sister works, I've been eagerly requested by the Phil, who is also the hospital director, to handle several challenging surgeries. As the mill and Luna fell silent, the Phil approached me.
Dr. Michael, I deeply apologize for my wife and daughter's disrespect. Please forgive us.
The Phil was desperately apologizing to me, but behind him, the mill and Luna stood in stunned silence. Noticing their inaction, the Phil beckoned them sternly.
What are you waiting for? Apologize to him.
Scolded harshly by the Phil, the two of them slowly approached me. They apologized reluctantly, but their expressions remained resentful, biting their lips in frustration and glaring at me. Please stop this, Director.
You forgive us?
He asked, and his face is lighting up with hope. But the situation wasn't that simple. No. Could I have some time to think about it? We are working at the same hospital, right? The thought of meeting these people makes it difficult for me to suppress my feelings of reluctance. As a doctor, I preferred to keep my work and personal life separate. However, the mere sight of the mill and Luna brought back unpleasant memories. Neurosurgery requires immense concentration, and even a slight tremor in my fingers could lead to grave consequences. Any distraction could endanger the lives of my patients, which is paramount importance. As much as I regretted it for the Phil, you had done nothing wrong. I couldn't continue with the surgery under these circumstances. I conveyed this, but to my surprise, the FIL's face brightened up unexpectedly.
That's fine. I'm planning to divorce my wife soon.
What? What are you saying?
The mill's eyes widened, turning pale as she confronted the Phil. The alcohol's effects seemingly vanished.
This is too sudden. I haven't heard anything about this. Why would you say you're divorcing me?
Do you think I'm unaware of everything?
The Phil calmly pushed her away, contrasting her agitation.
While I've been busy managing the hospital, you've been quite out of line.
What are you talking about? I've been supporting you as the wife of the director.
She retorted desperately, but the Phil calmly revealed a shocking truth.
So, you've been using your director's wife title to exert power over others for years, huh?
I can't believe it.
The mill, who had been so forceful earlier, now seemed lost for words, opening and closing her mouth as she searched for something to say. But the Phil continued his relentless critique. According to him, she targeted employees she disliked, overburdening them with unreasonable workloads. This led to those targeted staff members either falling ill from the stress or being forced to resign, contributing to significant understaffing issues at the hospital.
I admit I went too far with my supervision. I apologize, but that doesn't mean we should divorce.
I'm aware of your actions outside the hospital too. Recognize this.
He produced a photo of her with young men. He revealed her regular visits to host kluba, extravagant outings, and buying them apartments as mistresses.
I've had enough of your reckless behavior.
Wait, it's not what you think. I didn't know about such places until Luna introduced me.
Luna's eyes widen, and her voice rises at her mother's unexpected betrayal.
Wait, Mom, are you abandoning me?
Well, you were the one who introduced me to that host club.
As the two bickered loudly, the Phil looked down on them calmly and declared,
I've had enough of you too, Luna.
Why me? I never went to those clubs.
You never work, just taking pocket money from Mom and wandering around aimlessly. I've warned you for years, but I've reached my limit. I'm cutting ties with both of you.
Hearing this, they collapsed in tears. The guests at the venue held their breath, listening to the family's exchange. It seemed clear who was at fault. From various corners of the room, murmurs could be heard. Mother and daughter were causing trouble for the director of the hospital. And I wish that family would just leave.
Why is everyone looking at us like that?
I did nothing wrong.
They tearfully begged the Phil for forgiveness. Feeling the discomfort of the judgmental gazes around them, they contorted their faces awkwardly and stumbled out of the reception hall. As their cries faded away, a sense of relief finally washed over the venue.
Michael, I'm so sorry I didn't realize you were being treated that way.
We're truly sorry for my mother and Luna causing you distress.
My sister and her husband, Enru, looked worried and comforted me. It seemed like my sister and I, along with her husband, would continue to have a good relationship. I'm really sorry for causing trouble at your wedding. I just want you both to be happy, I said with a smile. They both smiled back kindly. Not long after, I heard that the Phil and Mill divorced within a month. The Phil had been preparing for the divorce for a while and quickly ousted the Mill from the hospital and the house. She claimed her share of the property, but he, on the contrary, demanded compensation for her affairs. He even demanded reimbursement for the money she squandered on her affair partner, completely overpowering her. Luna, unemployed and having lost her home, desperately showed up at her family home and the hospital, trying to get living expenses from her father. Eventually, she attempted to break into the family home at night and was reported to the police. She was disowned by her furious father and forbidden to even go near her parents' house in the future. After trying to find employment at another hospital, the Mill faced challenges due to the circulating rumors about her causing staff resignations. Consequently, no hospital was willing to hire her. She's currently working part-time, seemingly alongside her daughter. They're living in an old, run-down apartment, scraping by each day to make ends meet. Meanwhile, I continue my work as a doctor. Currently, I'm employed at the FIL's hospital, working alongside my sister to help people suffering from illnesses. Recently, I've hit it off with one of my sister's colleagues, and we've become close enough to go out for meals together. Enjoying these happy moments, I'm dedicated to working at the hospital for my patients today as well. Hey, isn't that high school graduate Michael over there? I don't recall inviting you.
That was the first thing I heard when I attended a high school classmate, Jin's wedding. Jin, who always looked down on me back in the day, hadn't changed a bit, even as an adult. I just wanted to keep the peace as much as possible, so I nodded along noncommittally. But this only made things worse, and Jin's behavior escalated.
An uneducated fool like you is just an eyesore. Get out of here.
All right, I'm leaving. As I started to leave, everyone in the venue suddenly stood up. Jin, taken aback, didn't understand what was happening. And no wonder. After all, they didn't know. My name is Michael Johnson. Although I only graduated from high school, I've made a name for myself as a somewhat famous chef. Since I was 18, I've won several culinary awards. For instance, I received the Best New Chef Award at 18, and since then, I've won the Best Chef Award multiple times. I frequently appear on TV shows and have won many cooking competitions. I even have my own popular cooking show with high ratings. I'm highly respected in the TV industry. My recipe book, released while I was still in high school, not only became a bestseller, but with the Japanese food craze, was translated and published internationally, particularly hitting it big in Asia. Its total circulation recently surpassed 2 million copies. In this industry, nobody doesn't know the name Michael Johnson. I thought I was confident. Why is this happening? When I finally came to face, I reverted to my weaker self from years ago. I broke out in a cold sweat. My mind went blank. I couldn't find the words to speak. I must have changed since then. How pathetic. A grown man still nervous and intimidated by Jin. Actually, I've known Jin since elementary school. We went to the same public schools in our neighborhood and were even in the same walking group to school, so we quickly became friends. I was never great at asserting myself and didn't have many friends, but he introduced me to new places and people. Gradually, I started to rely on him, a popular and cheerful guy, and he would laugh and say he was the one looking after me. We aimed for the same high school and even went to the same prep school, working hard towards our goals. Our parents were also friends, and everyone thought we'd be friends for life. But things changed in high school. Jin was still a great communicator, quickly becoming the center of our class. He was surrounded by cheerful, active people, the opposite of me. We grew apart, even though we went to the same school, and things got worse when we ended up in the same class in our sophomore year. He, then the leader of the rowdy group, started looking down on me, a quiet guy with not so great grades. One day, as I was sitting in a corner of the classroom planning the next day's lunch and making a shopping list, he said, "What are you doing all alone? Poor guy, not food at study and has no friends." Yeah.
What's that? A shopping list. Must be tough being poor. Hey everyone, look. He's got nothing better to do than write a menu. What are you aiming for next? Getting even fatter?
Jin, come on, stop it.
Oh, he calls you Jin. Are you two friends?
Don't call me by my first name. It's too familiar.
Right. Poor guy.
I felt betrayed. But maybe I was off base. Ever since being told we weren't friends, I couldn't stop thinking that I just didn't measure up to Jin. Because of this, and my naturally shy nature, I felt even more uncomfortable in the classroom. I spent every lunch break alone in a corner, eating my homemade lunch. I loved cooking, so I never missed a day making my lunch, but maybe that was part of my feeling of emptiness. One day, while I was eating alone as usual, the class favorite, Sarah, approached me.
Hey, Michael, your lunch always looks so fancy and amazing. Your mom must be a great cook. I'm so jealous.
Huh?
Oh, I couldn't help but notice it. Sorry to suddenly bring it up, but it always looks so tasty.
Thanks, but actually, I made it myself.
What? That's awesome. You're so skilled at cooking. The colors are so pretty and it looks well balanced. I admire people who can cook.
I was surprised. I had no idea Sarah was watching. But honestly, I was happy. When was the last time I talked to someone in the classroom? I've never been recognized by anyone outside my family. It felt like the first time I was acknowledged by someone else. And it was about cooking, my passion. From then on, Sarah started coming to see my lunch every day.
What's the main dish today? That stew looks amazing. How do you make it?
Sarah was cheerful and well-liked, yet she talked to me, a gloomy guy, so naturally. I was really conscious of the looks we got because the class favorite was talking to me. One day, I brought it up. Sarah, I don't think we're a match. You don't have to go out of your way to talk to me.
What's this all of a sudden? Don't worry about that. I talk to Michael because I want to, and I come here because I'm curious about your lunch. There's no such thing as matching or not.
Really? Thanks.
We're friends, right? So don't worry and just talk normally. I like you, Michael.
Huh?
He.
This must be why she's called the class favorite. And here I am, getting nervous talking to someone. Thanks to Sarah, the time I spent alone in the corner of the classroom, watching everyone eat lunch together, slowly started to become enjoyable. I thought of how I could repay Sarah for her kindness. I started making lunch for her too. I was worried it might be too much or that she'd be put off, but she was thrilled. Sarah, how about I bring lunch for you from now on? You've been coming to see me and complimenting my food. I want to give back.
You don't have to repay me. I haven't done anything special. But I'd love to eat Michael's cooking. Just seeing it every day makes me hungry, and what I bring isn't enough anymore.
Really? That's great. I'll bring it then. From that day on, I started making lunch for Sarah too. It made preparing lunch even more enjoyable, and I got deeper into the world of cooking. Whether it was Japanese, Western, or Chinese, I varied the lunches, and Sarah always praised my efforts. Today I made this. What do you think?
Wow, I've never seen this before. What is this dish?
It's called Spanish mackerel marinated and grilled. It's soaked in a sauce made from equal parts steak, soy sauce, and mirin, then grilled slowly. Hope you like it. Well, Michael, your cooking is really diverse. Whether it's Japanese or Western, everything's delicious. I love fish. I'm so happy. Thanks. Later on, Sarah eating my lunch became known throughout the school as the lunch approved by Sarah, and it gradually gained fame. Then, one day, in the course of conversation, I ended up showing Sarah my collection of lunch recipes. Hundreds of recipes I had accumulated over time. I never thought they'd become a topic of conversation. I'm glad I kept notes.
What? This is incredible. You have so many. This is like professional level.
Not really. It's just a hobby for me.
No way, this is amazing. I think more people should try Michael's cooking.
Really? What do you mean?
Hey, can I take care of that?
That would be. With a meaningful smile, Sarah gazed up at me. Not being used to such situations, I didn't know what to do and just nodded. I was clueless, going about my days when a few days later, Sarah came running up to me, beaming with joy.
Michael, it's decided. My dad said we can publish it.
What are you talking about?
Oh, sorry, I got so excited. You might not understand. Listen, you know the recipes you've been jotting down.
The one I showed the other day. What about it?
Yes, that one. It's been decided that our publishing house will publish it as a recipe book.
I was bewildered, unable to fully share in Sarah's excitement. I'm not trying to be cool, but I've never been good at expressing my emotions, and I was so taken aback by the sudden news that I became unresponsive. It must have looked odd to anyone watching. Sarah's family owns a publishing house. Her parents became famous in their time after breaking away from a major publisher to focus on digital formats, specializing in ebooks for the new era. This time, with her parents' support, my collection of recipes was going to be published as a book. I had started cooking just as a hobby, so I couldn't have imagined this happening, and I had no idea what to do next. But being praised by others was a new and joyful experience for me, so I couldn't find a reason to refuse the publication. Once I nodded in agreement, everything proceeded smoothly: meetings, interviews, commentary, photo shoots, and more. And then, 2 months later, the big day arrived.
The launch day is finally here. The Genius High School Chef's 2 delicious lunch recipes. What a great title, huh?
Stop it, Sarah. Genius is just too embarrassing. I didn't choose it.
Of course, I know. I'm the one who thought of it.
What? You, Sarah?
Yet, genius.
I can't believe it's already been decided.
No taking it back now. Ha ha ha. But I feel a little sad now that it's actually being released.
Why?
Well, if Michael becomes too famous, I might not be able to eat your lunches anymore.
All that worry for that. Here I am, praying that your company doesn't go bankrupt because of me. My stomach's been in knots every day.
Haha, have a little more confidence.
To my surprise, the book, especially popular among young moms, became a massive hit through word of mouth. Being photocentric, it was a perfect match for ebooks and exploded in sales right from the release day. And just like that, at 18, I achieved a million seller. It was unbelievable, but it made me happy to know so many people were enjoying my cooking. My family was happy too, and I think I was able to give my parents, who were always worried about me, some peace of mind. Now, as a famous chef, I'm working to share the joy and depth of cooking with more people. Thankfully, since my striking debut, I've never been short of work, and I became a professional right after graduating high school, although having not been good at studying so much. Became a professional right after graduating high school. Though I was worried about only having a high school diploma, my parents encouraged me, saying, "You can always go to college if you want, so why not do what you love?" I'm grateful to my parents for raising me without giving up on me, and now I can give back a little by taking them on vacations with the money I earn. As a famous chef, my relationship with Sarah continues to be close, both professionally and personally. She's become an irreplaceable part of my life. Her parents, too, appreciate me as the author of the mega-hit book and always look out for me. One day, I was asked to cater a wedding at a luxury hotel. Although not uncommon, I often had to decline due to my busy schedule with TV shows and other commitments, so it was rare for me to accept. On the day, I led the staff and chefs, giving instructions in real time with a microphone to create the best dishes.
Johnson, I always watch your books and TV shows. I'm so excited to work with you today and plan to learn a lot.
Thanks, but don't overdo it. Let's make some great food together.
Yes, you're just as humble and wonderful as you seem on TV.
We all wore headsets to coordinate smoothly with each leader, something I was used to from my cooking shows. Everything went smoothly, and we kept making progress with the dishes. During the event, while carrying food, I bumped into my old classmate, Jin, in the hallway.
You look familiar. Wait, is that you? What's a high school grad like you doing here? I don't remember inviting someone like you. Johnson, what are you doing here? This is my wedding venue. It's not a place for someone like you. You get that?
I couldn't say a word. Bitter memories filled my mind. Then Sarah, pale-faced, rushed over from the venue. Jin, meeting Sarah for the first time since high school, thanked her. In stark contrast, he turned to me with a smug grin.
Man, it must be tough being popular, huh? A beauty like Sarah comes to celebrate my wedding. That's quite different from someone like you who's all alone.
What?
See, you're the reason why Sarah's upset. You're ruining the mood, so just leave already. We'll have to call a replacement chef.
It seemed Jin had misunderstood, thinking Sarah had come to celebrate his wedding. For me, my mind went blank with the unexpected reunion, unable to do anything. I'm sure I could have made a lot of people who needed me, who looked forward to my cooking, who recognized me. But in an instant, all those unpleasant memories took over.
You even invited such a spiteful person to a wedding. You're ruining the festive mood.
You.
Now, Sarah, let me handle this. Believe it or not, Michael and I go way back. You know what today is about, right? A gloomy guy like you shouldn't be here. You're making the food taste worse. Really, high school grads are so useless.
What?
Don't you get it? Because you're so dumb. I'm in a good mood today, so I'll say it again. Listen up. A dimwit like you doesn't belong here. Get out. Ha ha ha.
His insults flowed so easily. I was furious at myself for not being able to respond. What would those who support me think if they saw me now, still haunted by the past and pathetic? I knew in my head, but I couldn't find the words or muster a rebuttal. I was too scared to even look at Sarah, thinking she must be disillusioned with me now. She wouldn't want to be associated with someone like me. The important people in my life are drifting away again. I felt frozen, head down. Maybe I should just leave. Overwhelmed with negative thoughts, Jin hurled more insults at me and started walking back to the venue. Sarah, without saying anything, seemed ready to leave as well. Of course. I never really matched up with the cheerful and active people. What does it matter if I'm a million seller or a genius chef? Nothing's changed. I bit my lip in frustration when the chef contacted me through the headset. We need you for the final touches. Can you come to the venue? Ho, yay, I'll be right there. Honestly, I was apprehensive about facing Jin and Sarah again. On the way to the venue, I kept stopping, contemplating turning back. But somehow, maybe because I'm weak, I couldn't run away and ended up entering the venue. The moment I opened the door, all eyes, which had been on Jin, turned to me.
Whoa, what's with everyone? Why the scary faces? It's a wedding. Enjoy yourselves.
How can you even say that?
Huh?
We heard everything you said to Michael.
What are you talking about?
Everything you said to him just now, we heard it all through the speakers.
What?
Apparently, due to a technical issue, my lapel mic had broadcasted Jin's words to the entire venue, including the bride and her family.
Jin, I had no idea you were that kind of person.
April. No, it's not like that. It was just our usual banter, right? Isn't that right, guys?
Looking at our classmates who were there, all of them were looking down, avoiding eye contact. Seeing this, I realized the moment my relationship with Jin had ended.
It sucks. I can't marry someone like you.
April, what are you talking about now? This is our wedding, you know.
Maybe this is a mistake.
What? You?
Jin, maybe you should stop.
Bob, please say something too.
I told you, we're done. I cannot give my daughter to someone like you.
Wait, hold on. This is crazy.
What's crazy is what you did, saying such things to an innocent person. You're getting what you deserve.
Shut up. Outsiders should stay out of this.
At this point, no one could stop what was unfolding. The mood soured, and it seemed impossible to return to a celebratory atmosphere. During this, April's father, apparently instructing the venue staff, announced a cancellation.
Hold on, wait a minute. Canceling on your own? What are you talking about? Who gave you that right?
It was me. I'm the one who said it.
Bob, why?
Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the inconvenience on this busy day, but continuing this ceremony seems pointless for everyone involved. This wedding is hereby canceled at this point. I don't want to hurt these two young people's future anymore.
Bob.
Our eyes met in the next moment.
It's all your fault. What are you going to do about this, huh?
He was directing his anger, panic, and fear at me.
Stop it.
I don't want to see this anymore. It's over. I've completely lost interest.
April, why? Are we really over?
For the first time, I felt pity for Jin. Until now, I was always intimidated by him, but at that moment, I wasn't scared. Instead, I felt sorry for him. The wedding was indeed canceled, as announced. Nobody expected this, so the venue was buzzing, but guests left with disappointed expressions. Some classmates who were there to try my cooking said, "No way, it's really canceled. I wanted to try Michael Johnson's cooking. This sucks."
Seriously, what's he doing? Huh? I was looking forward to it.
I overheard these disappointed remarks about not being able to try my cooking. It seems some guests had come specifically for that. Jin realized then that he was now less than my cooking.
No way. This can't be happening. This isn't me. Everyone came to celebrate me, not your cooking.
Jin.
Serve you right.
Acting all high and mighty. What do you know?
I don't know what it feels like to be a groom abandoned by his bride, and I don't want to. But the pain and suffering Michael has endured might be deeper than yours.
Jin had always been popular. Good-looking, athletic, smart, from a good family. He seemed flawless, but at some point, he changed. It seemed Jin had become overconfident from all the adulation he received. People gravitated towards him without him making any effort. He could pick and choose his friends, but eventually, there was no one around to correct his misunderstandings. Jin had failed in relationships for the first time, or perhaps he had been failing for quite some time. Until now, Jin had always been in a position of power, never needing to worry about people leaving him. But now, he was alone. His so-called friends left without a word. They weren't real friends. They never cared for each other, laughed together, or overcame hardships together.
Those guys. How much money did I lend them? How many times did I treat them?
That's not it. Real friendship isn't about hierarchy. It's about mutual trust and equality.
Equality.
Jin, I realized you didn't consider me a friend, but rather a subordinate when you wouldn't let me call you by your first name.
That's because
I depended on you too much until middle school, and that wasn't right either. I realize that now. We learned there that not making real friends, not cherishing friendships, leads to this. As April's family left, Jin sat there, drinking beer and crying. He stayed in the now empty venue, talking to himself.
at some point, I started thinking I was better than others. I had friends aplenty, was praised for my studies and sports, but I rarely failed at anything.
What? Are you still bragging in a situation like this?
No, I think he might be right. Let's hear him out.
Maybe you're right, Michael. I get carried away, thinking I was better because you depended on me. We were supposed to be friends. I'm sorry for the terrible things I've done. I'll change. Just don't give up on me.
Jin.
Michael is kind. He might blame himself for the suffering he endured, but it's not his fault. He has the right to live as he wishes, to be happy.
Sarah, thank you. Jin, it's better to live making others happy rather than looking down on them. I want you to be happy too.
Michael.
Jin kept crying for a while. When he looked at Sarah, she smiled back with tears in her eyes. I think this was for the best. I couldn't easily forgive Jin. Remembering everything that happened, it was frustrating and painful, but I couldn't bring myself to hate Jin. We were friends. Later, Jin and I met for the first time since the wedding, and we had lunch at the Western-style restaurant I'm involved in. Since Jin's immediate boss was at the wedding venue, he faced a week's suspension at work and was now living a constrained life, viewed coldly by others. He understood it was his own doing and said he was determined to do better, so I wasn't particularly worried. Jin seemed back to his old self, the one I knew well, and we talked without fear, just like the old times. Meanwhile, I had some developments too. I was getting married to Sarah Sato, whom I had been dating for a while. It was something I couldn't have imagined back in high school, but now, I don't feel it's beyond my reach. Sarah is my benefactor and my strongest supporter, not to mention incredibly beautiful. She always encourages me to be confident and take pride in myself. She is an irreplaceable partner. At our wedding, people from the TV and publishing industries, chefs from both within the country and abroad, and numerous relatives and colleagues turned up to celebrate grandly. My family was a bit overwhelmed by the size of the ceremony, making me realize that this kind of reaction must be genetic. I couldn't help but laugh. This sense of ease I now have is all thanks to Sarah and everyone who supported me. I vowed to protect Sarah and all my loved ones for the rest of my life.
I heard that the groom's older brother, Kevin, has only graduated from high school. To think that someone without a college degree would be part of our family. We come from a lineage that has produced prominent figures in various fields, and having someone uneducated like this among us is nothing short of disgraceful.
I felt more ashamed of being present in that situation than the harsh words that were spoken. Until now, I was content not being in the spotlight. But I had to acknowledge that it's probably how I appeared to others, as someone not standing out.
Danny, I'm counting on you to look after everyone.
My father said, calling me to his side alone. My father, who was at the peak of his career, fell ill with a rare disease despite being young and in love with 3 children. His condition progressed rapidly due to his youth, and he quickly lost his vitality after being hospitalized. "You're the only one I can ask this of," he said, his eyes welling up with tears. I held back my tears and nodded firmly. He roughly tousled my spiky hair and hugged me. His arms were as thin and fragile as tree branches. I think he knew his time was limited. That day was the last time I had a conversation with my father. From that day on, this Smith household consisted of my mother and 3 children. My mother, frail with illness, often pushed herself too hard for our sake. My brother Kevin, 2 years younger than me, and I often took care of the housework.
Bro, are you really not going to college because of us?
Kevin asked me as I was about to graduate from high school. I was taken aback by his direct question, but chose my words carefully to sound casual. "It's not because of you guys. Uncle told me he'd find me a good job. I want to start working and get out into the world as soon as I can," I answered with a smile, without looking at Kevin standing behind me. Truthfully, I like studying and wanted to continue my education, but I wanted to stabilize our life with our sick mother. I wanted Kevin and our sister, Anna, to have the opportunity to go to college and live a life without hardships. I was the only one who could make that happen.
You're different. You have good grades. You could even aim for T University.
He mentioned the name of a challenging local university. He felt helpless that his brother's future was being cut short because of him and his sister, a feeling he couldn't do anything about. I understood his feelings because I had been in the same situation. That's when I decided to work, right after high school. "I don't need to go to college," My goal is to make us all happy with what I earn. You'll have to study the things I can't, Kevin. Well, with your grades, maybe that's impossible. I joked, and Kevin looked down, his lips pursed. I thought he might cry, but after a pause, he answered without tears, "Got it," and started studying intensely from the next day. From being one of the lowest in the class in 3 months, he was in the top 10. On the day of the last high school test, I received my decent report card and left the school.
Hey,
I was surprised to see Kevin waiting for me at the front gate, holding out a paper. It was his end-of-term report card, showing he was first in all 5 subjects. I looked at him in astonishment, and he had a serious, yet slightly embarrassed expression.
I did what I could for now. I'll keep studying hard also for you, bro. So sorry. But I'm leaving the job part to you. After high school, I'll work too and help you.
Kevin said, bowing his head in gratitude. He suddenly seemed more grown up. I pictured him studying late into the night. If you can do something like this, do it regularly, bro. Seeing my brother Kevin working so hard, even while talking back, I know I have to do my part too. Working after high school graduation was tough, with many challenges and not everything going smoothly. Some unkind people, as well as those who pitied our single mother family. Amid all the things I couldn't do, I somehow managed to find a job on my own, learning the ropes by closely watching others at work. Maybe seeing Kevin studying hard even when I came home late motivated me to keep up with him. He continued to be the top student in his grade. That's why it was hard to convince him to go to college instead of working like me. I work, and you study, Kevin. Study hard, go to a good school, and then help Anna with her studies. I want her to go to a good place too. I persuaded him and got him enrolled in a high school even more prestigious than a high school, the top in the county. By that time, Anna had started elementary school, and our mother, despite her instability, was managing to do some work, reducing the household burden. I hoped they could go not just to high school but to college too, to study whatever they wanted. So, I worked as much as I could to save money. That's why, when Kevin timidly asked during his sophomore year in high school if it would be all right for him to go to college, I responded, "Of course, you should." Challenge difficult universities without even attending cram school. Deciding not to attend any prep courses and not to apply to any private colleges as safeties. He wanted to get a full scholarship as the valedictorian. Kevin, who visited the library daily without fail and read a single college prep book until it was tattered, had an intense focus. We were all anxious until the results came out, and when we learned he was accepted, our family hugged each other in joy, especially for Kevin and me, since we both felt that each of our efforts had led to this achievement. It was even more gratifying than if it had been our own. When I first became a manager with just a high school diploma, Kevin got his dream job at a pharmaceutical research institute and left home to live in the company dormitory. He said to me, "I could push myself because of you, bro. Thank you. I'll keep working hard." Our father had died from a rare disease. Kevin's dream was to research and develop a treatment for it. A dream I shared with him before I gave up on further studies. And then, this fall, Kevin came back home to announce his engagement. He was marrying Lisa Miller, a girl who had visited our house once before. She was an only child who often exchanged emails with Anna, saying she envied having siblings. Just imagining her as my brother's wife made me feel somewhat shy. While listening to his news, he said, "I want you, bro, to give a speech at the wedding. I am what I am today because of you, and I'm proud of that." But hearing that the wedding would be in a prestigious hotel because of Lisa's family's social standing made me hesitant. Lisa, the daughter of a company president, would have relatives and guests of a certain caliber at her wedding. While it was fine for our mother, Anna, and me to attend as family, the idea of giving a speech felt daunting and possibly inappropriate. But it was my brother's big day, a once-in-a-lifetime event. And above all, I was touched that Kevin said he was proud of me. I decided to take on a significant role. On the wedding day, the weather was clear. It was a fresh autumn day with dazzling fall colors. I wore a formal suit, something I'm not used to, and headed to the wedding venue, extremely nervous. I kept stumbling over my words while talking to the taxi driver, and Anna teased me, saying, "The star today is Kevin, not you, Denny. Why are you more nervous?" My mother was already anxious before we even arrived at the venue. Anna, attending a wedding for the first time, wore a new orange chiffon dress. I got emotional thinking that she might be imagining Anna in a wedding dress someday, and had to distract myself by looking outside. In the family waiting room of the luxurious hotel, we were restless as we waited for the ceremony to begin. That's when a man approached me. My mother and Anna had just left the room to greet Lisa, so they weren't there.
"I'm John Miller. Sorry for not meeting you at the pre-wedding gathering,"
he said, offering his business card. I realized he was Lisa's father. "I'm Danny, Kevin's brother. It's an honor to meet you," I blurted out, almost bumping my head in my haste. I hadn't met John before because he couldn't attend the pre-wedding gathering due to his busy schedule. The more I try to avoid any mistakes, the more anxious I become.
"Kevin is such an excellent young man, graduating from T University. It's a relief for our family that he's marrying our daughter."
I felt like I was being praised alongside Kevin.
"And you, big brother, are you married yet? You should marry soon. I can introduce you to someone. Which university did you attend?"
I was taken aback as I hadn't been asked that recently. I'm a bit embarrassed to say, but I didn't go to college. I started working early to support my family after we lost our father. I took care of earning money while Kevin studied and Anna helped with housework. I explained. John's eyes narrowed briefly. I guess my impression isn't too good, but I can't lie either. I tried to recover the conversation by saying, I might not have done well myself, but my sister Anna has just been accepted into nursing college. Though the atmosphere didn't change much, he replied, Your sister must be very talented too. He seemed like he wanted to say more, but someone called him, and he bowed his head and left. I hope my presence doesn't ruin Kevin's relationship with his future Phil. As I was thinking this, my mom and Anna returned. Watching them excitedly talk about Lisa's beauty and Kevin's handsomeness, I almost forgot about my worries. So, when John started his speech as the bride's father, looking intently in our direction, I felt no discomfort.
The Miller family has produced many distinguished individuals, with everyone typically graduating from prestigious universities. We've always wanted our daughter to marry someone like that, which is why we encouraged many arranged meetings, hoping she would continue the lineage of excellent genes.
He said. I sensed trouble brewing. As he focused solely on academic achievements, in introducing Kevin, he only mentioned from the public M high school known for its high university entrance rates. He went on to T University on his own and now works at a national research institute. Without touching on his character or personal stories, he talked about Lisa's education from kindergarten to a prestigious private university as well.
I was relieved that my daughter, Lisa, could marry such an outstanding young man as Kevin Smith. But
he gave me a spiteful look, and I had a bad feeling.
It seems that the groom, Kevin, has an older brother who only finished high school. To think that someone with just a high school education would be part of our family, as a family that produces leaders in various fields, having such an uneducated person is a disgrace to us. If I had known earlier, I would have stopped it. But it's too late now. It might be unpleasant for you all, but he's scheduled to give a speech next, so please bear with us. While he may not be able to marry, we hope for excellent children from Kevin and Lisa.
He concluded. I was named and felt like vanishing from embarrassment. I should have known better than to come to a wedding that was out of my league, and I felt depressed. I thought about asking someone else to give the speech, since there was still time, while my mom and Anna were visibly angry at the malice. That's when it happened.
Can you take back what you just said?
I looked up to see Kevin, in his tuxedo, holding the microphone. He was visibly angry, a vein throbbing on his temple.
I was able to pursue my studies because my brother worked hard for our family. To say that he's uneducated, please retract your statement and apologize.
Kevin said, his voice trembling with anger.
Our father died of a rare disease, and our dream as brothers was to research it. My brother was more talented than me, but he worked for our family. That's why I worked hard to fulfill our dream. When I got into college, I thought about attending a university closer to home and working part-time to help my brother. When he found out, he scolded me.
Kevin spoke assertively.
He asked if I didn't trust him, that my achievements were proof of his efforts. He told me not to worry about money, to do what I could to the fullest, to study and research wherever I wanted, because that was my role.
I remembered scolding him, telling him not to lower his university choices out of consideration for me.
The person I am today is because of my brother. If you won't apologize, I won't call you my Phil.
Kevin said, shaking with anger. Lisa then took the microphone from him, soothingly patting his back while glaring at her father.
Education, education, education. I've put up with it for so long, but I never thought it would come to this. Treating even your own daughter like a pawn. I've had enough. I'm sorry to show you this unsightly scene.
Lisa, still poised and beautifully dressed, offers an apology. The wedding venue was filled with murmurs of shock.
I thought I was doing a final act of filial piety by having a grand wedding for my family. But it was a mistake. To have such a person as a father is embarrassing. Though we've gathered you all here, we will cancel the wedding. Please enjoy the meal and then feel free to leave.
She firmly states her apology and then apologizes once more.
Have you all gone mad for a man who's just a high school graduate?
Her father rushes toward his apologizing daughter, pointing at me. I was shocked, but obviously so was John. Caught off guard,
Just to let you know,
Lisa began, facing her father.
the man you've been ridiculing, Danny Smith, is the next president of the major client company you have been struggling to secure a contract with.
She then turned to me with a smile, asking, "Right,
What? A high school graduate becoming a president?
John turned pale, looking at me in disbelief. I realized it when he handed me his business card earlier. He was the president of Miller Inc., a client of our company. In terms of our business relationship, we had the upper hand and could terminate the contract if necessary. Miller Inc. was at a delicate phase, reconsidering its transactions due to some unpleasant rumors. I kept silent, not wanting to spoil the happy occasion, which now seemed deceptive. The company I joined after high school, a small-town factory, saw a dramatic increase in sales after securing a patent for precision parts. We rebuilt the worn-down factory building, replaced all the machinery, and now had profits to spare. Though we produced small parts, the patent earned us favoritism from various companies. Miller Inc. probably wanted to secure a contract with us, but it's challenging for them because our company has strict trading conditions. I built my career steadily, working my way up from a high school graduate. When it came to the patent, it took years to convince the stubborn craftsmen and company executives, who initially wouldn't listen. It was me who handled all the tedious applications and formalities because they said they'd agree if I did everything. The truth is, we didn't want our technology copied, and this approach paid off. Our company, though small, accumulated wealth comparable to listed corporations. When the president retired, and I was nominated as the successor for my role in the patent, I thought about declining, but being recognized for my efforts felt genuinely good, so I accepted. Being treated as an outlier in a workplace filled with college graduates, I never felt inferior. Instead, I earnestly sought advice and studied diligently to acquire the necessary qualifications, which might have been one of the reasons why my superiors were fond of me. There were qualifications that I couldn't obtain with just a high school education. So I studied for the high school equivalency exam about 5 years ago. Kevin helped me by creating study guides.
If you had gone to college, you would have been even more elite.
People say, acknowledging my achievements. It's nice to hear, but a college-going version of me doesn't exist in this reality. The person I am today is because I didn't go to college. That's what makes me who I am now. The wedding turned into a big fuss and was eventually called off. Lisa declared, "I'm not going back home."
We're cutting ties with my father. and planning a small wedding. Please attend, Danny.
She said. I apologized, feeling responsible for what happened, but both Lisa and Kevin shook their heads.
We owe you a lot, Danny. We'll help you with anything you want to do. Just ask.
Lisa asked me if there was anything I wanted. As a president, I feel lacking in education, so maybe I'll go to college now. Maybe I'll even find a girlfriend. I joked. John's comment about marriage and education had struck a nerve.
Leave that to me, Danny. What type of person do you like?
Lisa asked eagerly. She planned to use her extensive network as a company president's daughter, despite cutting ties with her family, reluctantly agreeing to meet someone Lisa introduced. I ended up hitting it off with a charming preschool teacher. Spending time with her was fun, and after several dates, we started dating. Regarding Miller Inc., investigations were conducted to ensure rumors didn't remain just rumors. The final straw was when Lisa left her home and saw John involved in suspicious money dealings. It led to the decision to cease our contract with Miller, and soon after, their wrongdoings were exposed, and they went bankrupt. Despite losing everything and being unable to pay off their debts, when John came seeking help, I politely refused and blocked his calls. My girlfriend and I often talk about the future now. Marriage and children seem within reach.
You need to focus on your happiness after all the hard work.
She tells me. Just imagining having a family of my own brings a smile to my face, much to her amusement.
I spent most of my childhood in a hospital bed. I was diagnosed with childhood cancer in 2nd grade. The specific type was acute leukemia. Although treatment with chemotherapy put me in remission, I had been admitted and discharged from the hospital 8 times by the time I graduated from middle school. At first, friends who used to visit me gradually dwindled, thinking, is she back in the hospital again? And when I returned to school, I found it hard to fit back into the already formed groups. I could say my school days were some of the darkest times of my life. I didn't hate studying, but it was hard to keep up with my class. I'd easily get a fever if I overexerted myself, so pulling all-nighters for exams was something I just couldn't do. With such academic struggles and physical vulnerabilities, I opted for correspondence high school. I don't need to go to school, so I had a lot of free time. That's when I took up crafting, which would drastically change my fate. I started with making dolls out of wool felt. The first hedgehog I made, I thought was pretty cute, but the feedback from others wasn't all that great. Especially, my brother Mike's comment was pretty harsh.
What's that? A naked kid mole rat?
A naked mole rat? Is it that weird? Isn't it cute?
Nope. Far from cute.
He is always straightforward about everything. In his words, he's a man who can't lie. That's probably why his unfiltered feedback ignited a fire in my competitive spirit. When I get into something, I tend to dive in without thinking of the consequences. Holding on to my needle for hours every day, I'd often get nagged by my mom, warning me to take it easy so I wouldn't feel sick again. I bought books to study, watched countless videos to emulate techniques. I even attended craft classes at a local craft store in the neighborhood. All this effort seemed to pay off as I began to feel more confident in my skills.
Well, this lion is pretty cute. Kinda looks like a character from a donut shop. Can I have this?
Inside, I cheered. I won. I got my brother to say it was cute. How about I attach a keychain ring to it so you can hang it on your back?
What? You can do that?
Yeah, it's easy. I'll get it done. Come pick it up tonight.
Got it.
I think Mike and I get along better than most siblings. I've always felt that I've caused him a lot of trouble due to my illness. When I fell ill in 2nd grade, he was just starting middle school. I believe he still needed our parents' support, but my mom spent most of her time with me at the hospital, and my dad was swamped with work. My mom once said she was grateful that Mike was such an easygoing kid. He has the skill to handle just about everything on his own. But I believe that skill is something he acquired so as not to bother our parents who were already overwhelmed with my situation. Even now, when my mom and dad are away for the weekend, he'll whip up lunch for me.
It's sandwiches today. Lily, you need to eat lots of veggies, carrots and lettuce, and they's egg.
No meat.
I didn't feel like going shopping, but in exchange, I've added a special sauce I made.
Our conversations are always playful like this, but I've always appreciated his kindness. One day, I saw several books about overcoming cancer on his bookshelf. Mike never brings up my illness, but realizing he deeply cares about me brought me to the verge of tears. He said he was going to study biomedical engineering and went on to attend the engineering department in college. And now, he's working in the R&D department of a medical equipment company. He mentioned he loves machines and chose the medical field because it's a secure job market. However, I can't help but think that seeing my struggle with my disease influenced his decision in some way. He attaches the lion keychain I gave him to his bag when he goes to work. One day, as I was crafting felt dolls in my room, he popped in.
Hey, can you make me another keychain like the one you gave me?
Sure. Are you planning to give it to your girlfriend or something?
Girlfriend. I wish I had one. Sadly, it's a guy who asked me for that keychain.
My felt creations have become so popular that they ranked high on handmade selling websites. I managed to graduate high school, but found it difficult to find a job. So, I chose to pursue a path in handmade crafts from home. Now, although I still live with my parents, I earn enough to cover my own living expenses. You can have this one. It hasn't been reserved yet. I picked up a giraffe plushie and he burst out laughing.
Oh, great choice. That looks like something he'd like.
Handing over the giraffe keychain, he happily took it and left. A few days later, I received an email from him. It read that the colleague he'd given the giraffe keychain to wanted to meet and thank me in person. Growing up, most of my life was spent just going back and forth between home and the hospital. So, it was rare for me to interact with anyone outside of my family, let alone have dinner with a stranger. Especially with a man. I had never thought about it. Perhaps sensing my anxiety due to my delayed response, he messaged me, "I'll come with you, so don't worry. If you're coming, it should be okay." I sent an email agreeing to the meetup. 3 nights later, Mike came to pick me up, and we headed to an Italian restaurant. His colleague had arrived before us.
Oh, I'm sorry for imposing on you like this.
The colleague, who I came to know as Ryan, looked more nervous than I did. He stood up and shook my hand. Nice to meet you. Ryan and I greeted each other with movements as stiff as robots, making Mike burst out laughing.
Loosen up, guys. Just say something like, "Hi, I'm Ryan, and I'm Lily," with a smile. It's not an arranged meeting.
Hearing the term arranged meeting, Ryan and I exchanged a glance.
Thank you for this. It's very cute.
My friend here, he's a total science geek. Graduated top of his class from a prestigious university's physics department. And yet, he's got a soft spot for cute things. His desk is surrounded by character merchandise.
Hey, that was supposed to be a secret.
Ryan had an unmistakable air of a scientist about him. He had sharp, observant eyes and slightly nervous, high cheekbones. Seeing him flustered after being outed for liking cute things made his otherwise stern demeanor crumble a bit, making him more endearing. I'm glad you liked it.
Yes, I really did. I enjoyed tinkering with machines, but I've always been teased by friends for liking figurines and even designing my own clothes.
That sounds quite intense. That conversation became the starting point, and soon Ryan and I were deep in conversation. We talked about future projects and handy tools for crafting. We got so engrossed that we kind of left my brother out. As a result, while Mike was busy munching on his pizza, Ryan and I bonded so well that we planned a trip to a craft store together. According to Mike, when Ryan first joined the company, many female employees had an eye on him. He is handsome, and more importantly, his education suggested he would be destined for success. However, being totally engrossed in the sciences, Ryan seemed to have led a life devoid of romantic pursuits. He lacked the skills to entertain a woman on a date or even show a hint of consideration. This cemented an image of him as a capable yet dull person at work, leading many female colleagues to distance themselves from him. Ryan himself seemed relieved by this, happy to finally focus solely on his job. Mike turned out to be Ryan's only friend at the company. Indeed, Ryan might be a bit different from the average guy. When we went out together, he'd sometimes become so engrossed in something he liked that he'd forget about me, standing transfixed in front of a store shelf, or drift off deep in thought-made conversation. Yet, that might just be part of his personality. As long as we were crafting together, it didn't particularly bother me. If he went quiet, I'd just silently focus on my own project. This unique relationship of ours lasted for 2 years, until Mike made another of his impactful remarks.
You two spend all your free time together. Why not live together? Heck, why not just get married?
Upon hearing that, Ryan nodded and said, "That makes sense," turning to me.
Lily, will you marry me?
I dropped the needle I was holding in surprise at this sudden proposal, casually made with a cup of coffee in hand. It was completely out of the blue, and there wasn't even a hint of romance in the air. And proposing in front of my brother, of all people. Half angered and half astonished, I stared at Ryan. But this proposal was a desperate ploy orchestrated by my brother. It was meant to push both the hesitant Ryan and the oblivious me, who couldn't recognize his feelings. Shyly, he reached into a bag at his feet and carefully pulled something out. It was a pair of teddy bears he'd made, sitting facing each other. And one of the bears was handing a ring to the other. Is this?
I'm not good with words and can't express my feelings well, so I thought I'd let this little guy deliver the ring.
Wrapped around the bear's chest was a ribbon engraved with the words, "Will you marry me?" Of course, my response was yes. So that, his face turned beach red with happiness, and Mike looked as if a huge weight had been lifted from his shoulders. From then on, things moved at a brisk pace. We paid a visit to our parents and set the wedding date. I stitched my own wedding gown, and Ryan crafted the bouquet I carried, as well as the flower to adorn his tuxedo. The wedding was a modest affair held at a restaurant, attended by close family, a handful of my friends, and Ryan's co-workers. It felt just right for us. The ceremony progressed smoothly. My friends sang a playful parody dedicated to us, lifting everyone's spirits. Ryan's colleagues humorously acted out how some female staff would shy away from his over-the-top geekiness while also praising his skills and work ethic. We went around, greeting and thanking all who came. Most folks were telling us, "You two are a match made in heaven and wish you all the best." But out of the blue, we got hit with some unexpected remarks.
Hey Ryan, I just can't get why someone with your great genes would mix with those lesser ones.
I was caught off guard and couldn't make heads or tails of it at first. But then, with a bit too much booze in him, he went on, and I was at a loss for words.
That lady, her education's pretty darn low. Even if she says she finished high school, it was probably some online program, right? And her job, being a craft artist. Isn't that even lower than a part-time gig?
It was something I had been concerned about myself, so I froze when he said it right in front of me. Compared to Ryan, an honor grad from a top state university, I felt like a woman with health issues, lacking in both education and any decent job experience. It felt like we were worlds apart. The guy spouting off, clearly drunk, was restrained by his buddies and escorted out to cool off, but a palpable tension hung in the air. Nonetheless, the party continued, and soon it was Ryan's turn to speak. He was visibly nervous, his hands trembling holding his notes. But unexpectedly, he crumpled that sheet, pocketed it, and began to share his heart.
Thank you all for gathering here today on behalf of the two of us. We're still greenhorns, and in order for us to build a better home and live happily in the future, we need your help and guidance. Please bestow upon us your blessings and guidance.
With that, he looked up with determination.
My wife, Lily, is an incredible woman. It's true she doesn't have a formal education, but there's a reason for that. As some of her close friends might know, she's been battling leukemia since she was a child. Going through leukemia treatment is tough, even for adults. She endured all that pain and suffering at such a young age, and that strong person is Lily. And even after that, despite all the odds, she paved her own path. What connected us was her handmade craft.
Saying that, he pulled out a familiar giraffe keychain from his pocket.
Look at this gentle face. It's a testament to the heart of its maker. And what moved me, which my colleagues will understand, is the pattern on its back. If you look closely, it forms a beautiful spiral based on the Fibonacci sequence.
Though some in the crowd didn't quite get what he was getting at, his colleagues let out impressed exclamations, while Mike had a wry smile on his face.
She's a genius. It's because she inherently understands what's beautiful that she can create such wonderful things. I believe the genes that inherit my intelligence and her artistic sense are precisely what the next generation should possess. I'm grateful to God for having met such an amazing woman, and I'm also thankful to her brother and my colleague, Mike, for bringing us together.
When he finished his speech, the room erupted with thunderous applause. Surprisingly, among the applause, the loudest claps came from the man who had earlier made a snide comment about my education. Incredibly, that man was weeping as he clapped, shouting, "Lily, you're the best!" As the ceremony concluded and we were seeing off the guests, that same man approached us, looking rather guilty.
I'm so sorry for my rude remarks earlier. Even though I was drunk, there's no excuse for saying such things. I truly believe you're a fantastic person. If you wouldn't mind, could you make me a keychain too?
Sure, I'm not too familiar with the Fibonacci sequence, but I'll give it a shot. The man apologized again and left. The wedding might have had its ups and downs. But looking back, I think it was a truly wonderful ceremony. All of it was thanks to Ryan's heartfelt words. He is not good at public speaking, but I was really happy that he spoke for me like that.
Lily, I'm so happy for you. I guess my duty to protect my lil sis is over now. Now you have Ryan to look out for you.
Yeah, Mike, thank you for everything up until now. That was the first time I shed tears that day. My bro, Mike, who's always done so much for me. I hope from now on, I can do something in return. First, I need to build a happy home with Ryan and make sure Mike doesn't have to worry about me. And if possible, I'd love to help find the perfect partner for him someday.